Guys, in today's video we're going to be learning how to make this two-piece milkmaid top with a high waist A-line skirt. If that's what you want to watch, then keep watching this video to the very end. Now let's head straight to it. First, you'll be needing your basic bodice front. Okay, I have my bust line, my under bust line, and of course my waistline. So and my neckline is in the basic and all my darts. And also I have my basic sleeve. I'm labeling front and back so I know which particular one to use when I'm ready to use the sleeve. So now we're going to be attaching the front sleeve to the front part of the shoulder, making sure that the center sleeve aligns with the shoulder of the front, like so. And we'll use my sellotape to hold it down. At this point, if you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do well to subscribe. Click the bell notification icon so you'll be the very first person to know when I post new videos. So I marked 1.5 inches down at the center sleeve, and for the depth of my neckline, I'm going ahead to mark 6 inches. This is optional. You can decide to do whatever you want. I'm going ahead to connect these marks, and this is what it looks like. Now we are going to be cutting out the whole of that area because it's an off shoulder. So in order not to make it gap, I'm going ahead to contour the necessary parts. First part I'm contouring is my neckline contour dart. If you want to see a proper contour guideline tutorial, then drop a comment in the comment section and I'll give you the link to a video that will explain contouring more to you. I'm going ahead now to marking my neckline contour. And after marking in my neckline contour, of course, we are going to be cutting off the whole of the shoulder area because, like I said before, this is an off shoulder. So then I'm going ahead to mark in my shoulder contour dart. Like I said, I went down by 1.5 inches from the tip of my shoulder at the center of the sleeve. So I'm going ahead now to mark in my bust arc where I'll be imputing my dart intake for the shoulder contour dart, just like I did for the neckline contour dart. And having done that, I'll use my ruler to connect the whole points like so. At this point, this is what we have. I'll be using my marker to mark dotted lines in between the dart intakes so you guys will know that this is where the darts are. Okay, and also this is my neckline, so it's very more visible. Now, the whole of this is what your pattern should look like at this point. We'll go ahead to use my scissors to start cutting out the parts that we do not need for this pattern. And of course, I'm going to be discarding that very part. And now this is all that we are having right now. So I'll go ahead to detach the front bodice from the sleeve. I'll set the sleeve aside while I work on the front bodice. Now for the front bodies, we are going to be closing up our darts. Despite the fact that this is a milkmaid top, you have to close up the darts, okay? And you understand why as we go on in this tutorial. So now I'm going ahead to open up my side bust darts. And of course, I'll go ahead to start closing up the contour darts. When I close it up, I'm taking the excesses, transferring the excesses to the side bust darts. Same thing I'll be doing here. I'll go ahead to open it up, close it, and transfer the excess to the side bust darts. And having done that, this is what is looking like. So as you can see, the neckline has some breakages because of the darts that we closed and opened. So I'm going to be truing that now by adding a fresh pattern paper. So while truing, you want to make sure that your center front and the very tip of the armhole area, they are the same. You're just going to be truing the center. Exactly what I'm doing right now. You're only truing the center, please. Your center front and that armhole area is going to be the same as the initial. You're only going to be truing the center. And that is what I'm doing right now. I'm going ahead to cut off the excess papers that we do not need. And voila, this is what we are left with. And then we'll go ahead to keep working on this pattern. From the thumbnail or from the design we are recreating, which is actually a crop milkmaid top, you can see that the milkmaid effect stopped at the underbust and the waistline is like a band for the end of the crop top. So I'm going to be detaching this very part, the underbust, to the waistline like so. And now we're going to close up this dart right away. So I'm going to use my tape now to join this together. Please, you want to label very well. You want to label a way you will understand, because so many things might get you confused if you did not label. I went ahead to label center front, and I marked an arrow indicating that this part is upwards facing the upper part of my bodice, and this part is downwards, which is actually the lower part of the body. So having done that, I set it aside, and we're going to be working on this very one. Please ensure you close the waist dart and transfer the excess to the side bust dart. That was what I really forgot to do at this point. Now we are going to be tracing this whole pattern out to keep it as our lining. The reason why we need to trace it out to keep it as our lining is so that the part where we are going to slash and spread for the milkmaid effect, we are going to gather it on the lining. Thereby, you don't have to worry yourself about how many inches is my neckline, how many inches is going to be my underbust line, how many inches is your waistline and all that. You have your lining, which is the basic. So just gather your milkmaid pattern onto this. It's going to make your work a whole lot easier. Do not forget, please, close up that waist dart and transfer the excess to the side bust dart. I actually forgot to do that, please. It's very simple. Close it up, transfer it to the side bust dart, please. I'll do that. Actually, when I remembered it, I've already started slashing and spreading the milkmaid pattern. So the yellow paper I'm cutting now is going to be the lining. And of course, you're going to be cutting this on fold like we do. And then you go ahead to stitch up that side bust dart. All right. So I'm going to show you everything right now. I'm labeling center front, and I'm going ahead to label lining. Lining meaning is going to be on the inside. You can still use the same fabric you're using for your work, except if your fabric is too heavy. But then you can still use same fabric. Just that this lining is going to be on the inside, like a guide on where to gather the milkmaid pattern. So now you're going to close up the dart. Of course, you're going to be sewing this on your sewing machine. In your fabric, you're going to be sewing this up right now. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, please do want to subscribe. Click the bell notification icon so you'll be the very first person to know when I post lovely tutorials like this. And do not forget to share these videos to other platforms where you know they will be greatly needed. Now this is what the lining is going to look like. Okay, remember you're cutting the center front on fold. So this pattern is what we are going to slash and spread now to get our milkmaid pattern. I'll set this aside, and there we are going to be slashing and spreading this to get the milkmaid pattern. So like I said, this is what you're going to do to close up the dart for the waist dart, please. So this is what I did. Have you seen? So you have to do this first before you cut it out on the lining. Before you cut out on the lining, please. You have to close up this dart first. So I haven't done that. I went ahead to start drawing in style lines where I'm going to be slashing and spreading for fullness, okay? Firstly, I wanted to close up that dart at the underbust area to make sure that that pattern is going to form as a whole without having that opening there. So that is what I'm going to do now. I went ahead to close it up like so. And I'm using my tape to hold it down. We'll continue our slash and spread, just like the normal way we do the slash and spreading method for gathers, please. You have to tape everything down so you do not get, none of your pattern is being reeled. You have to tape everything down so you don't get rid of any pattern and you find out that that very part that is missing is actually useful. So I'm going ahead to slash and spread like so. Then I'm going to be spreading these whole patterns that I cut. Remember, the more you spread them apart, the more full your milkmaid is going to be. So also consider your and the nature of your fabric, like the texture of your fabric. If your fabric is too thick, you do not want to spread this so much because it's going to be heavy. I will advise you don't use a thick fabric for this. Something light is going to be okay. Not necessarily a chiffon, but a light crepe is going to be okay. If you can get something that is a little bit thick, that will be perfect. So after spreading it out, I'm going ahead to cut it out right now, like so. So for the center front, you can decide to leave a paper there, like the yellow paper, you can decide to leave fullness there, or you can decide to cut it to put it in full. But I will advise you leave fullness. Whatever you want to do, that will be fine. Just make sure your lining is perfect. So as you're gathering, you have a guide on where to gather the milkmaid pattern on. So this is where we are going to be gathering this whole stuff on this part, thereby making our work easier for us. You're going to be making sure you gather them to fit into that lining. Also the lower part, you'll be gathering it to fit into the lining. Please do not forget to close your waist dart before cutting out the lining. And having done that, you will stitch this very part of it to the bodice, to the dress that you're making. So that is it for this part. We'll set it aside and work on the back. The back is actually very simple and easy. We are going to be putting our sleeve like we did to the front, making sure that the back sleeve and the back bodies are aligned. And with my tape, I'll go ahead to hold this down. So having done that, from this very point, I'll go ahead to determine the depth of my back neckline. And whatever I get, whatever it is you want to use, you're going to be connecting it to that very point of the center sleeve. So I'm using my marker now to make this visible so you guys can see it clearly. So basically we're going to be cutting this out right now. So this is what the back is looking like. We are not doing anything more to the back. The only thing you're going to be doing is to cut open your dart, use your chalk or whatever to mark it on your fabric, transfer the dart excess to the fabric from your pattern paper and stitch up on your sewing machine. That is all for the back. So once you cut this open, you want to take this to your fabric and mark out the dart excess on the fabric and stitch it up with your sewing machine. Now the next thing we are going to do to the back to contour it is to remove 1/2 inch from this very part of the armhole, connecting it like so. Please, the 1/2 inch you're removing should be at the top, which is like at the back neckline. Please, then you cut off like so. So this is all for the back. Now we're going to work on the sleeve, please. The sleeve is not just a basic sleeve. We're going to work on the sleeve and you do not want to miss that. So for the sleeve, which was gathered at the shoulder area and also at the wrist area, you're going to be taking the measurement you have right here. And then you're going to be cutting out that measurement on a strip of fabric for the up and for the down part of it. The reason why you're taking this measurement is so you know where to gather your sleeve into. So you're not asking yourself, how many inches am I going to gather the sleeve so that this thing does not gap when I put it on? So you have to take that measurement first. So you know where to gather your sleeve into. And this is it for the upper part. I also did the same thing for the down part of it. So I went ahead to label up and down so I do not get confused when I'm using them. Please follow strictly the instruction. Now I went ahead to slash and spread the sleeve pattern. Be sure you're slashing and you're spreading accordingly. Do not mix them up, please. Make sure you don't mix them up. If possible, you have to number them 1, 2, 3, 4, so you're sure that you're placing it accordingly. So that is what I'm doing right now. And I'm going ahead to slash and spread my sleeve. I'm going ahead to slash and spread the sleeve, and this is what it looks like. Now that very strip I told you to cut, you see the essence, you're going to be gathering this to make sure it fits into that very particular strip for the up and also for the down. Thereby you don't have to worry yourself about how many inches or you start doing guesswork and all that. So we'll set that aside. That is all for the crop top because this is a two-piece. Now heading over to the skirt, this is the front. The skirt is the simplest part of it. It is very simple. It's just an A-line skirt. It's very simple. So what we're going to do now, remember that the waistline of this skirt is a high waist. So the waistline started from your actual waistline. That is which some people call the half length. So the waist of this skirt should start from your half length. Your basic skirt now should start from your half length, okay? Because this is a high waist. Of course, the top is a crop top. So for you to make it fit, you have to start your basic skirt from your half length to make it a high waist. So now I extended my bust about measurement, that very line, all the way to the hem. We are going to be creating our A-line effect by opening up to take away the dart. I'm going to be cutting this open right now, all the way to the point where the dart started. If you've been following my channel, you should get used to me doing this for my A-lines. And when I want to do flare also, this is the very starting point. So to this point here, and then we'll go ahead to close the dart, thereby transferring the fullness to the hem. And this is what it looks like. I labeled skirt center front. You're going to be cutting this on fold. So if you want to have a slit, by the time you cut it on fold, you will now determine where your slit is going to be. Please do not overdo the slit so that you can be able to wear this dress to wherever you want to put it onto, and it's also going to look modest. So that same thing we did for the front is also what we are going to do to the back skirt, and I'm going to show you. This is this skirt center back. Okay, this is skirt center back, and this is that of the front. So I'm gonna have to cut the front and the back skirt, okay, and this is what they look like, right? So this is what they look like. Technically, it's same procedure, and these are all the patterns for the front, the sleeve, okay, and also the back. All right, I'll see you in my next tutorial. Bye.